Okay, so let's see the practical application we are going to develop now.
So department main form, right? So department number, let's search by department number 10, right? Search. Awesome. See, it's filling it, guys. It's filling it. Let's clear. Let's search with the department which I have not put. Department number 90 I haven't put, right? Awesome, guys. It's working. No department found. Wonderful, wonderful, great. You should be really happy now, right? You are learning a lot of things from this channel, right? So we went through all the layers. So when I put 10 and say search, I'm going through all the layers. Starting from the view, we will connect to the controller will connect to the model, and then use the classes. So in other words, view will connect to the controller, then the controller will connect to the logic will connect to the DAO, then the DAO will connect to the adapter and get the data, or not, if not, get the null data, whatever it is returned. Then fill the entity object. The DAO will fill the entity object and return the entity object to the entity object or the domain object, whatever you call it, to the logic, and the logic sends it to the controller, and controller decides where to redirect, or in this case just send the data in a wrapped in a DTO, data transfer object, and send it to the view, and then the view displays what is coming.
Okay, so let's continue to develop this application now.
Right, but you know one very important thing. Now you are in the controller, and if the controller is returning this as a department, controller returns this to the view. But the department belongs to the model. So in the model view controller, uh, we don't want the view to touch the model. So if the controller is returning something in the model, then this will go to the view, which means the view has to touch this. So I don't like it. We don't like it in MVC. That is why we have this DTO objects, right? Data transfer objects. So which means instead of returning the entity object or the domain object, you return the DTO object, because you define the DTO object here. Because see, the department is defined in the model. Look here, just here, right? See, now if your department controller is returning the department, who will use this? The view. That means the view will have to touch the department. We don't like it, because we don't like the view to touch the model. The view should go through the control. That is where the DTO, data transfer object, comes into picture. So in the department, whatever I want to pass, I will be put into the DTO object. So I will we already have a DTO object because we created one for the previous method. So I'm going to add the extra things here now, right? Which means the int department number string de department name department department number department name department department department. Okay, my friends, so I'm going to generate the getters and setters for this. Okay, right? Okay, awesome. I got the department details. So what I'm going to do is I'm planning to use the return the DTO, right, from the department. So yeah, that's the trick, right? So then I have to make sure that I fill the DTO inside this method, right? That's the trick, right? So if I go into the the department control implementation, guys, right? Department control implementation. Awesome, guys. So it has to return something. Not all code path returns a value, right? So what you have to do is you have to create an object of the logic class, right? That's what the controller does. This, I mean the controller now, right? And then you have to call the relevant method, right? So we already wrote it, get department by the department number, right? And then you pass the department number, right? And when you say get department by department number, now you are inside the controller. The controller can access the department object. That's not a problem, right? The controller can access, but what I said is, after the control access, it should not send this department object, right, to the view. Instead of that, it has to take the data and put it into a DTO object and return the DTO. So the view has to touch only the DTO. So the data view transfer view between the view and the controller happens through DTO objects. But any data coming from the model to the controller can come through the entity objects, meaning the department. So what I mean is, any data transfer from the model to the controller, because controller is okay to access the model, any data can come in the form of the entity classes. But once it comes to the controller, if you are transferring that data to the view, that should go through the DTO, right? So you have to fill the DTO inside the controller. Hope it's clear to you, because that is what you do, right? So in your department controller, right, so you get the department, but you have to check, you have to put if condition, right, because sometimes this can be null. If it's null, now you have to do the routine tasks, the redirections or activities you want to do from the controller, right? So if I put a comment, basically, if you remember, I did the same thing in the user control implementation. You remember, see redirection. So I'm just putting a comment just to say that what the controller should do is something like a redirection or something like that, right? So the department control implementation. So I would say redirect to the something like redirect to a page, right? Something to a page stating that the department is not, that is the controller's task, right? It redirects to a page specifying that the found, else redirect to a page to display the something like that, my friend. Redirect to a page to display the department, right? Page to display the department. Now this is a GUI application, meaning it's a WinForms application, so you will not do any redirections, but I'm just telling the logic. The controller should do something like this, right? But in this case, what we should do is, if it's null, we should fill the DTO to say that it's not found. Or we could let's think a bit, right? So how we did that for the user controller was, we, if you remember, we return a null. If not, we fill the DTO, so that the view, when it calls the controller, if it gets a null, it knows that it has not found, right? So I think we will do the same approach, right? So let's do the same, right? So user control implementation, department control implementation. Yeah, so I'm going to just copy this, so that with this as well, and that's how we do, right? User control implementation, department control implementation, right? So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to delete this, right? Put this here, right? This time it's not user login DTO, it's the department DTO, right? The department DTO, then obj department DTO, right? Then this time it's the obj department. So if obj department is null, I'm returning null. Else I'm going to fill this department DTO. Now I'm going to first make sure that I'm going to assign object for the department DTO, because here you didn't assign object, you just make a reference. Now when you know you have data, you create object, and on your DTO, this is what you do, right? On your DTO, you are filling now what, the department number with whatever you got from the entity class, the department, the entity class or the domain class, right? So you fill the whatever you received as the department number if you need, but in fact you don't need to return department number even, because you just search by department number, right? But let's fill it, right? Then in your DTO you got the department name that you fill with the incoming what you received from the entity, right? The department name, guys, right? And the department location. Yeah, guys. So the department location. Awesome. And then you return your department DTO. Awesome, guys. Awesome. So now the controller returns the DTO. So now we come finally to the view, right? So the view search method, right? So the search method should now create object of uh, the controller. So we have already done it in the save method, right? So we created object of the controller. So let's create that object once again. Search, you create that, right? And you call that method, right? So what's the method? Get, no, what's the method? Hold on. Department controller. One important thing. So I have to do one more important thing. So you look here. Even in the save method, you remember when you create an object of the concrete class, we used to store it in the interface. So the department controller implementation, I have not done it earlier, right? Department control implementation is a child class of what, right? I department controller, right? Sorry, not the interface, the concrete class, right? The I department controller implementation, okay, is, what does it say? So I department controller. So I department controller. Say, so it should return department d to I depart. So department controller, right? What's the error? It says we had read the errors. Department does not implement interface. Cannot convert interface because it's not public. Cannot implement an interface memory. Okay, so you have to make it public, right? That's what it says, right? Because you can't lower the scope. You have to, you have to make sure that it's visible for the outer class. So all good. Now before that, what I was telling was, yeah, so the department control implementation implements I department control interface, right? So which means if you go here, guys, even here I had to store it in that type. You remember we did this in the previous exercise, right? So that same thing I will be doing here, right? I should be doing here, right? Okay, now on this I'm going to call dot get department by department number and pass the department number from the text box 1 dot text and convert it into a number, right? Awesome. And then I'm getting the DTO object, right? You remember, right? Department DTO. Awesome, my friends, right? So you get it, and now you can put a if condition. Now remember where you are, don't forget where you are, right? Just here, right? So you put a if condition, and if this is null, the department is not found, right? If this is null, right, you give a message box, right? You give a message. So even that message can be sent by the controller if the controller wants to specify anything, right? So if you need, what I mean is, so if you need the department controller, no, it's up to you the way you program it. If you think if you are returning a null, you don't have to do it, right? In that case, because it's null, the front end can just display it, right? The front end can just say message box dot show. You can just say what, no department found. No department found, right? Else it's found, so you need to display the data in the text box 1, sorry, text box 2 dot text. That will be from the DTO object, data transfer object. You want the department name, then the text box 3 from the DTO object, the department location. Awesome guys. So this should be fine. Let's build and see. Build, right? And let's run and see, right? So save and run. So let's log in as admin because it's option for the admin. So department main form, right? So department number, let's search by department number 10, right? Search. Awesome. See, it's filling it, guys. It's filling it. Let's clear. Let's search with the department which I have not put. Department number 90 I haven't put, right? Awesome, guys. It's working. No department found. Wonderful, wonderful, great. You should be really happy now, right? You are learning a lot of things from this channel, right? So we went through all the layers. So when I put 10 and say search, I'm going through all the layers. Starting from the view, we will connect to the controller will connect to the model, and then use the classes. So in other words, view will connect to the controller, then the controller will connect to the logic will connect to the DAO, then the DAO will connect to the adapter and get the data, or not, if not, get the null data, whatever it is returned. Then fill the entity object. The DAO will fill the entity object and return the entity object to the entity object or the domain object, whatever you call it, to the logic, and the logic sends it to the controller, and controller decides where to redirect, or in this case just send the data in a wrapped in a DTO, data transfer object, and send it to the view, and then the view displays what is coming. Awesome, guys. We are doing really good, right? So that means now you know how to save and you know how to